Hi, I'm Peggy Kelly, and this is Good Morning Santa Paula. It's Thursday, April 29th, and my guest today is Dan Singer, the city manager of Santa Paula, and he's got several updates. We've got various subjects, and it's very nice because now we've got things we can talk about. We've got some real positive news coming up, and activities are starting, and so I'm excited to have Dan with us today to go over this. Good morning, Dan. Nice seeing you.
Good morning. Yeah, nice to be not just talking about COVID for once, right?
I didn't even want to say it. I didn't want the word to escape my lips, but
yeah.
Yes. So I know that speaking of COVID, because it is related, there's a pot of money out there, and I guess that's the ARP funds. Could you talk about that program and what it means to Santa Paula?
The American Rescue Plan, monies that the federal government is giving to local municipalities to compensate for some of the financial losses and the setbacks related to the pandemic. And we're just thrilled with the prospects over the next 2 years of receiving $5.6 million.
Wow, that is wonderful.
And I know everyone will say, you know, spend it on the streets, fix our roads. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but what's important to note is that next Wednesday, that would be May 5th, we'll be bringing to council a preliminary discussion with a list of possibilities. We don't yet know if all of the items and subjects on that list are eligible. We're waiting for some further clarification from the government, but it's a very robust list, probably about $9+ million worth of needs that our staff have assembled. And we'll see what the council's mood is and where they want to go with some of this one-time monies. You know, the great thing is that
different things. I mean, it's
yeah.
And like you said, it's a matter of finding out actually what is eligible, but it can be split. It doesn't have to be put towards any one thing.
That's right. And, you know, you could say that the more they split it up, kind of the more good it'll do, right? You could put it all towards one major capital project, or you could use it to support any number of programs. And that's what Wednesday's discussion will be. I think it's really an opportunity too for our nonprofits and our community members, our residents to not just tune in, but to speak up. Let the council know. Look at the list. We'll have it published tonight when the packet goes out. If you go to sbcity.org on the World Wide Web. Do we even call it that anymore? On the internet, go to our website. You'll see the staff report and the list that we've assembled, and give us your 2 cents. This is an opportunity to talk about what's important to the community and really give us a lift. I think the chance to do some important projects, some beautification efforts, some money's going back into the community where it's needed the most, fixing some of the infrastructure and things that we need. The list goes on, as you say.
Now, just to put it in perspective, Dan, what is the annual rounded figure? What is the annual general fund budget?
So our general fund budget's around $18 million. The discretionary portion of that, though, in other words, the amount of money that the council is able to kind of spend above what they're committed to by way of just staff costs and operational costs is only about, you know, 10-15% of that. So there's really not a lot of money that we're able to use to reinvest in projects and equipment and partnerships.
This is like more than a quarter of what the annual general fund is.
Yes.
The budget. So this is
like a birthday and Christmas all wrapped into one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And they'll be doing that in 2 annual allotments. Do you have any details yet?
That's correct. So we'll be receiving 2.8 million in probably the next 60 days. And then following that 1 year later, the other 2.8 million.
So the heat is on for people to put their thoughts into it. Excuse me, opinions, and let the council members know, or
Yep.
take advantage of commenting at the council meeting or entering, or submitting written comments?
That's right.
Because I know the field's wide open as far as, I believe before you'd said, we'd have, a story about it today in tomorrow's paper, actually. It's public, private, city, it's all just, there's all sorts of ideas out there as far as how the money can be spent.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I bet that doesn't happen too often, so.
Right. Not in my lifetime.
Mhm. And this actually is a relatively new bill that was just signed, in March?
Yep.
That
That's
created,
right.
and this is federal.
That's right. And, it's worth pointing out that there are other aspects of that nearly $2 trillion bill
Mhm.
that will also help the city and the state. And I mention that because there may be suggestions like, hey, let's help our businesses with some additional support. And we could do that. We could use these funds for, let's say, a small business assistance program. But the fact is, there are other pots of money that are helping small businesses, that are helping businesses that were shuttered, like forced to close, like theaters and museums. There's monies coming from both the feds and also the state and county. So we don't really want to duplicate too much effort,
No.
although the council could also put money, back into the economy that way.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because I think I read too, where I got an email or I made it up that that the county's going to have a third round of $5,000 grants, and this time you could have already received 5,000 and receive an additional 5,000.
That's right. So that might relax the pressure on the city to need to do something like that, which means we could then take that money and spread it out in other ways. But you're right, the county hasn't made that announcement. They don't have all the details worked out yet, but they expect to within the next few weeks. They really want to get that money out into the economy and into the hands of our businesses and help them to reopen.
Yes, because that's where all our revenue comes from, is
Yeah.
one way or the other through local.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's our livelihoods.
Absolutely. Well, and also, you have, now I know you were saying that also they've got the pavement management plan coming up for spring and summer. I know that's part of a 5-year plan.
Yes.
And would you like to give us an update on how that's doing?
Sure. We brought an update to the city council just 2 weeks ago. The winter months are over when you can't do a lot of road construction, and as we're hitting spring and summer, it's going to be another busy year. Our plan focuses first on trying to better preserve the roads that are in decent shape. And it seems a little counterintuitive to the public. How come you're not fixing the worst roads first? The fact is that the money that we would have to dedicate to that would be astronomical. And then the roads that are in decent shape or good shape would continue to deteriorate, and it would be a vicious cycle. That's what we've been doing, and it hasn't worked. So our new plan really focuses on preserving the things that are working. It's kind of like if you get a new car, you don't ignore getting oil changes.
Yes.
You don't wait until the car breaks down to say, oh, maybe I should get it serviced, right? We have to service our good and our adequate streets. And that's what this first kind of year to two is focused on doing. But that said, we're also now phasing into year 3. So we're kind of in between the second and third year of our new pavement management program. And that's going to focus on arterial streets. Arterials are kind of the collectors that are your more major roads in town, not our highways, but roads like Santa Paula Boulevard, Harvard, Main Street, etc. And so there's going to be a lot of focus on those and some of the northwest side streets. We'll start to see some parking lots improved this year. We're going to be doing a lot of utility work along Harvard. That has to happen before we can repave it. So the paving portion probably can't happen until this next spring, in a year from now. If we're able to finish the utility work this calendar year, then we'll start paving as soon as we can. But most likely that utility work, which is water and sewer, it really needs to be done first so that we don't tear up the street in a few years, right? Having to repair it. So Harvard will get done within this next really year and a half. But first we've got to do that utility work. So you'll see roads like Steckel, as I said, Harvard, eventually the mid portion of Santa Paula Street is going to get done. Some of the parking lots I mentioned, and then a few other kind of collector streets. We're also doing some improvements along Peck and Faulkner. That was a project that was supposed to start at the end of March, and we ran into a couple of permitting snafus, but that'll start up quite soon, actually. I think the beginning of May.
With that section, you have to go through Caltrans also, or?
That was the snafu.
Oh, of course, I knew as soon as you said snafu.
Yeah, we, because it's part of Caltrans's on and off ramp at Peck Road. It's part of their right of way, and we have to get permits through them, and the permits we had expired, and so we've had to get them reissued. So yeah, there's going to be quite a bit going on.
Oh, that's great. And also, there's different pots of money that the city can draw from for different work. And I know, I think on the first bunch, the Arterial, or those can get different funding because they're considered a main thoroughfare, or am I confused?
Well, the funding sources don't usually change too much.
Mhm.
And we're not sure that we'll be able to use any of the stimulus money on roads. That would require a longer conversation as to why that is. We're waiting to hear from the government about that.
Sure.
But certainly there are gas taxes and highway user taxes and what's called SB1 funds that was approved by voters, and our own Measure T dollars that we pour into our street maintenance, our sidewalk maintenance, and our pavement management program.
Yes, absolutely. Now, so that's wonderful. So you've got the next phase coming up, or, it seems like it's all been rolling along pretty, and like you said, except with some interruptions for the winter,
Yeah, it can't get here fast enough, like anyone else in this town. I drive the streets every day, and there are some horrible neighborhoods, and they're not getting better. They don't get better. Honestly, the minute we pave a street, it starts to deteriorate. So it takes a constant vigilant effort, and it takes a plan. And unfortunately, Santa Paula hasn't been good about keeping up with that effort, partly because we didn't have a plan. So now we've got a plan. We have a roadmap, so to speak, and we're following that plan. And it doesn't get all of the worst streets done right away, but we will be getting to them, even if it takes another few years.
Yeah, and I understand it is painful,
It is.
for the people that live there and have to use.
Imagine if you were an axle.
Yeah,
Yeah. If I was a car axle, I wouldn't want to live here. Talk about painful.
Oh yeah, that's it on some of the streets. Oh, okay. Spring events. Now we'll take a drive to Santa Paula Beautiful. Tell us about Santa Paula Beautiful.
Yeah, really exciting. The warmer weather's in the air, the COVID cases are down, the businesses are opening up, and so are events. Hooray.
Yay.
It's great to see. We're going to have another big Santa Paula Beautiful Day this Saturday, May 1st. We have over 300 volunteers coming out to spend the morning helping with beautification efforts, cleanup, fixing some things in town. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to bring community together. Everyone that volunteers also gets a Santa Paula Proud shirt. They get fed lunch, and just the reward of knowing you're contributing to your community in a meaningful way. And in a lot of ways get to look around and say, oh, I helped do that. We're going to be painting the poles on Main Street, and also some of the curb striping. There's going to be tree plantings later this month taking place as part of Arbor Day.
Oh,
and just some really good stuff. And then just in time for event season, we've got cruise nights are back.
Yay.
So the first one will be on Friday, May 7th. So come and enjoy that. We also have on Saturday the monthly street fair that we've had the last few months. I understand there's now like 60 vendors coming to that, which is fabulous.
And what date is it?
What's that?
What date is that?
That Saturday afternoon. I think that's May 8th.
May 8th. Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be a full weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots going on, and we're encouraging more of that kind of activity. Of course, when you're indoors, wear a mask. Be sure to do that. Take precautions. We want to prevent the uptick, but otherwise, we're hoping to be back to normal before long.
Yes, absolutely. Now, and of course, we're looking at the statewide opening. I guess it's supposed to be June 15th.
Correct.
And what is that going to mean? What's going to be different at that point? I know we're at 50% now and in a lot of venues and things like that. So that means it'll go to 100%. It's just.
Yeah. So the state hasn't really issued any specifics yet. In fact, I had a conversation this morning with the county. I'm sure those will come out sooner than later, but assuming that the conditions are met, June 15th will represent the elimination of all of these tiers, which means, as you've said, we'll go back to essentially businesses being fully reopened, provided that they adhere to the protocols, the safety protocols, wearing masks indoors, hand washing, distancing, etc. There are provisions related to larger gatherings and large venues. Now, we don't really have to worry about that too much in Santa Paula, but there are still likely to be some restrictions, including that you might have to demonstrate that you've either been tested or that you have been vaccinated before you can enter those larger venues. And that's designed, of course, to prevent widespread, virus spreading. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And people, it's just something they're going to have to live with for a while, is just that, I know they say you can take your mask out outside, but with the caveat that you've been vaccinated and all this, and you're not in a crowd, so, and that's fine. As long as people know what the rules are and are careful and wash their hands. And, I think hygiene has improved greatly across the United States. And it's a habit that hopefully everybody will stay in some of these habits. So I'm happy to hear that. I'll be at all those events coming up.
Good. We'll look forward to seeing you there.
Without my mask, depending on what the circumstances are. Well, that's great. Do you have any last thoughts, Dan, or anything you'd like to add, or something I should have asked you?
Just to thank you to the community. It's been a long haul. We still have kind of a low vaccination rate in town. We're trending kind of behind most of the rest of the county. So just a shout out to those. If you have trepidations or nervousness about the vaccinations, there's places to get questions answered. You can talk to your doctor, talk to your neighbors, or even your religious organizations. There's plenty of information out there, and we really encourage people to get out and seek vaccination.
Absolutely. I can only agree wholeheartedly, because Santa Paula is still on the high side when it comes to, since it started, since our first case out here a year ago, March, as it were, we've got a higher rate of COVID, and we continue to have a higher rate of COVID. I think we're over 15% of the population has had or recovered from, and we've lost 59 members of the community that have passed away.
Yeah.
COVID. So it's still very serious and will continue to be so. So get those vaccinations. Okay, Dan, well, listen, I appreciate you. I know you're very busy, and thank you so much for stopping by today, or letting us stop by your place and see you with some of these great events.
Always a pleasure, and look forward to seeing the whole community out this weekend.
Okay, absolutely. And if you'd like to see this, you can watch it on cable channel 10. They rerun these, or I should say run these. And of course, kadytv.com. If you're watching it on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, and it helps us bring more broadcasting. And once again, I'm Peggy Kelly. My guest today was Dan Singer, City Manager of Santa Paula. And thank you so much.
You bet.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dan. Have a great weekend.